You know that feeling when you look up from your phone and realize an hour has just vanished? Or you find yourself watching a video on a topic you had zero interest in 10 minutes ago? Well, that's not an accident. There's a hidden architecture at play, a kind of invisible blueprint that's designed to capture our attention and even shape our desires. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and take a look at how it all works.
I know, that sounds a little intense, right? Almost like something out of a sci-fi thriller. But the scary part is, it's closer to reality than we think. That choice you feel like you just made, it might have been the very last step in a long, carefully designed process. And to understand it, we have to go back in time, way before the internet even existed. So let's dive into Act 1. To really get what's happening today, we first need to understand the system's software, its core operating code. And this software, believe it or not, wasn't written in code. It was written in the language of human psychology, almost 100 years ago.
Yep. Our story starts with a man named Edward Bernays. And get this, he was Sigmund Freud's nephew. He took his uncle's groundbreaking ideas about the subconscious mind, our hidden, irrational drives, but he didn't use them to heal people in therapy. No, he used them to sell things to people, to the masses.
This was his big idea, what he called the engineering of consent. Bernays figured out that you don't sell a product by appealing to someone's rational mind. That's too slow, too full of friction. The real trick was to bypass logic entirely and aim directly for our unconscious desires, the things we want without even knowing why we want them. It's about manufacturing a feeling, a desire that people think is their own.
And here's his playbook in action. Back in the 1920s, it was a huge social taboo for women to smoke in public, so a tobacco company hired Bernays. What did he do? He didn't just make an ad saying, "Buy our cigarettes." Instead, he linked cigarettes to a powerful, unconscious desire, women's liberation. He staged a public event, a march, where he had high society women light up cigarettes, calling them torches of freedom. The media went wild, this symbol was amplified everywhere, and almost overnight, a social taboo was flipped into a symbol of empowerment. A whole new market was created. That's the software. It's a repeatable formula.
Okay, so you've got this incredibly powerful psychological software, but any software is totally useless without the right hardware to run it on. And that brings us to Act 2. Decades after Bernays, another thinker came along and warned us that the technology delivering the message was becoming way more important than the message itself.
That thinker was Marshall McLuhan. He was a true visionary. While pretty much everyone else was obsessing over the content on TV, the shows, the commercials, the news, McLuhan was looking at the television set itself. He made this radical argument that the simple act of staring at that glowing box was fundamentally changing our brains and society in ways we weren't even seeing. This is where his most famous idea comes in. The medium is the message. What he meant was the specific article you read or video you watch is actually less important than the device you're holding in your hand right now. The hardware, the smartphone, the infinite scroll, the notifications, that's what's truly changing us. It's literally extending our central nervous system into the digital world, rewiring us on a physical level.
And McLuhan had a name for the effect this hardware has on us: Narcissus narcosis. You remember the Greek myth of Narcissus, right? The guy who fell in love with his own reflection and became so mesmerized he just wasted away. McLuhan said that's what we do with our technology. We get so entranced by this new extension of ourselves that we become totally numb to what the technology is actually doing to us. We don't feel the rewiring. And this state of numbness, well, it makes us the perfect host for Bernays' psychological software to run on.
And this brings us to Act 3. This is the climax. This is the moment where the psychological software from the 1920s and the neurological hardware of the 20th century violently crash into our present. It's a synthesis that creates something entirely new, something automated, and something operating at a scale that neither Bernays nor McLuhan could have possibly imagined.
The term we use for this modern synthesis comes from Harvard professor Shoshana Zuboff. She calls it surveillance capitalism. It's basically a new form of market capitalism, where Bernays' playbook is executed not by clever PR guys, but by massive automated algorithms. And it's all delivered through that all-encompassing, sense-numbing technological environment that McLuhan warned us about. The goal now isn't just to influence you, it's to predict and ultimately to control you. So what's the fuel for this new machine? It's not just the stuff we knowingly share, like our photos or our status updates. The real gold is what Zuboff calls behavioral surplus. Think of it as our digital exhaust. It's all the data we give off without thinking. How long your cursor hovers over a buy button, the subtle changes in your voice, even your typos. This stuff, this data exhaust, is incredibly rich with signals that predict what you're going to do next. maybe even better than you can.
If you want to see the end game of all this, look no further than Pokemon Go. On the surface, it was just a super fun game, right? You walk around, you catch cute little monsters, but underneath, a completely different shadow game was being played. Businesses were paying the game's developer to place valuable Pokemon inside their real-world stores. The game's mechanics were then used to literally herd millions of human bodies to those exact locations, generating guaranteed foot traffic. It moved beyond just predicting behavior, it was now about guaranteeing it. And the players? They had absolutely no idea.
And that quote from Zuboff just nails it. The whole business model relies on this asymmetry of knowledge. It's designed from the ground up to be invisible, to be confusing, to operate in the shadows. The entire system works best when we, the users, don't even know the real game is being played. Our ignorance isn't just an accident, it's a strategic resource.
So, after hearing all that, I get it. It's easy to feel a little defeated, a little powerless. But here's the thing. Understanding the architecture is the most important first step to taking back control. Once you have the blueprint, you can start to find the weak points, the manual overrides, and you can begin to reclaim your own mind.
And you can start right now with a few simple things. First, fight back against McLuhan's Narcissus narcosis. Go into your settings and turn off every single notification that isn't from a real human being. Just do it. Reclaim your attention span. Second, counter Bernays' engineering of consent. When you feel a strong desire for something you saw online, pause and ask yourself, do I actually want this thing, or do I just want to be like the kind of person who has this thing? And finally, create friction. Make it harder to get sucked in. Log out of your social media apps after each use. Switch your phone to grayscale mode. These tiny little barriers give your conscious mind a fighting chance to step in and break the loop.
You see, this whole architecture isn't just about capturing our eyeballs. It's treating our private human experience as a free, raw material to be mined and processed. And the factory is designed to produce one thing above all others: certainty. The certainty that you will click, that you will buy, that you will show up. It's about selling guaranteed human futures. So the question we're all left with is, in this new economy, if your life is the raw material, what is the final product?